Makes you wanna go. Makes you wanna go. Na 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 na. Makes you wanna go.
Hey, Mickey G, how are you today?
Hey, GoldnBronze. I'm doing well. How are you today?
I am good. Yes, a little tired, but you know, my energy is up, and so I'm ready to get it going.
Well, let's go.
So when I get on here, I get all that energy back, you know.
Yeah.
So, our topic today is housing challenges in 2024 in the United States. And I thought about that because, you know, Golden Swan Cadre helps domestic violence victims once they leave domestic violence centers with adopting a room, decoring or furnishing one room, because we have little pockets right now, but we hope to get those a little bigger. And so in doing so, these ladies have a really difficult time finding affordable housing. And within the last few years, housing in the United States has doubled in what the rents are, what the mortgages are, because of the interest rate kind of tripled. It went down yesterday, a half a point, but a lot of mortgages that used to be $1,500 are now $1,500 a month are now $3,000 a month. Apartments that used to be $700, $800 a month are now $1,600 to $2,300 a month for a 2-bedroom. So I thought that would be something that we could talk about. And so the affordable crisis is major all across the United States. Now, there are some places where, you know, it's cheaper than others, but housing prices remain high in many regions, particularly in urban areas such as New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco. I'm going to say Dallas because I lived there and I saw how it doubled. Houston, it has doubled here even. And I'm sure in other places as well. And despite that slight cooling in some markets, affordability remains a major issue for middle and lower income families. Again, like many renters face sharp rental hikes. They call me all the time. I'm a realtor. I'm on real estate business. And they are looking for $1,000 a month, $1,300 a month. And I simply have to say, I can't find you anything like that anymore. I look and look and look, and even in some of the lower economic areas, the rent's higher than $1,300 a month. So I'm talking about in Texas, really, in cities where job growth is high, like Austin, Dallas, Houston, Miami. Rental prices have surged considerably, pushing many housing into the insecurity of forcing them to relocate to urban areas, you know, more country areas and stuff like that. And the wages are still stagnated. Even though the cost of living has increased significantly, the wages, especially for lower income households, have not kept the pace, exacerbating affordability challenges. So I thought that would be something that would be of interest to people to talk about. Do you have any pointers to make about either the affordability crisis or the rent increases or stagnant wages?
Yes. It is quite shocking what things are costing these days for rents. I talked with one of my children who lives in Dallas, and she was trying to find housing, and she was telling me a 1-bedroom was $1,300 a month. I was just surprised by that. Mm-hmm. But she's not the only one that has stated that. $1,400 per month for 1 bedroom. Now, a single person, that's a lot for them. But let's say you have some children and you need 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms. The amounts must be staggering. So I imagine people are doubling up, roommating, some kind of way to make that work. But that is frightening that the rents are that high. Not
Yeah, they
everyone is qualified to buy a house, so they have to rent.
that's true. And there's a shortage, a supply of apartments and homes. There is persistent units across the country due in part to supply chain disruptions. During COVID, when everything was shut down, there was a problem getting the supplies to the United States to make homes and build apartments. And then there were the labor shortages from the COVID pandemic, regulatory hurdles such as zoning laws also limit new housing developments, especially in high demand areas. So affordable housing became a shortfall. While luxury and market rate housing are being built, there remains a significant gap in the development of affordability housing for low income and middle income families. Programs like the low income housing tax credit are not able to fully meet the demand of the affordable units. Affordability is kind of going out the back door. So that housing supply shortage due to COVID, getting materials and raw goods and stuff in, made the cost of rent and everything go up as well.
Yeah, and so I have a question kind of for you and a statement. I understood through when COVID was on the rise, materials became very expensive to get. But I wonder, you may not have
Yes.
the answer to this, but I wonder why they're still expensive. That's one point. And the other is gentrification. In areas where people could afford to live, they're tearing those places down and buying and building luxury units. So those are kind of my thoughts on what you were saying.
So you make a valid point about gentrification, and that does push out the low and middle income families. They'll tear those, what do they call them, projects, apartments down or low income housing units down and build huge luxury apartments. And now we can no longer afford to live in the neighborhoods that we grew up in and stuff like that. So that's a valid point. As far as why the supplies are still high, I don't work in the supply chain industry, so I really have no idea. But it's just like when cars go up, they don't lower the prices when those demands meet demand. But we'll finish when we come right back. All right, we are back. We are back. So, yeah, since I don't have any knowledge about supply chains and distribution, I can't answer that question for you. But my thought is just like cars were cheaper and they go up when the materials become available, they don't go back down. So I don't know what that's about.
Yeah.
But we'll move forward and talk about the homelessness, the rising homeless rates. So sometimes when I'm in metropolitan cities, which I won't give any names, driving downtown, I cannot believe all the homeless people on the street. It's really sad. And I almost had a wreck just looking. It looked like a whole city by itself out on the streets of homeless people. Homelessness has grown more visible in many cities, particularly in states like California, Oregon, Texas, to name just a few. Excuse me. The shortage of affordable housing combined with inadequate mental health and addiction services has contributed to increasing numbers of people living without stable housing. Eviction crisis, as the pandemic related rental assistance programs have ended, evictions have been on the rise. And when the pandemic was going on, they gave people kind of a waiver because they didn't have jobs to go to. The whole world shut down. As soon as they lifted the restrictions for the pandemic, they started evicting people, even though those people didn't have an income. Many people were off work without an income. Some of us were fortunate to get one. Many people were sent home without an income and then had to turn around and face the eviction crisis after they lifted the restrictions, especially in areas with less stringent tenant protection laws. They weren't protected.
that's frightening to me. It just people are just trying to simply make it. People are just trying to pay their bills, go to work, and then they don't have a job to go back to. And finding another job is another chore, but the bills still go, they still keep coming at the same time. And
Yes.
seeing families homeless or homeless camps or people on every corner saying homeless and hungry, I'm seeing that a whole lot. And it's frightening. Sometimes I look at people when I'm driving along or I see people who are homeless and I think, what is your story? How did you get here? What happened to you? My heart just goes out to seeing people like that and families like that because it could be any one of us. And these are humans that are going through that. And so it's a sad state of affairs, but it's scary that the
Yeah,
prices have.
most people are one paycheck from homeless.
Yes, yes. And I was thinking you said something
Mhm.
about the prices have gone up but not come down. And I wonder if I'm sure
Right.
you don't have an answer to this one. This is just me wondering. I wonder if they said, well, if you can pay that, we're going to leave it at that price. If you're willing to pay it, we're not going to take the prices down. We're just going to keep it up there. I just wonder if that's the
I
psyche
think
of
that's it in
people.
a nutshell.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
And
that's it in a nutshell.
yeah, yeah. And people coming from other areas where they can afford more expensive housing. I'm just going to say, for example, California, people making bigger salaries there who do remote work move to places that is less expensive and they'll pay the price. But people who can't afford it, they're also paying a larger price, I think, because of migration. I'm not certain of that. That's just a theory
Well,
that I have.
well, speaking of California, I live there, and it's people, multiple families live in one home out there. Uh, the average house is a million plus. Okay, houses like we live in here, the average home is a million plus, and a lot of times you'll find situations where there's multiple families, relatives, living in the same home, and everybody's sharing expenses and stuff like that. But as far as when it comes to purchasing homes, the higher interest rates affect that considerably. The Federal Reserve's interest rates hikes to combat they hike it, they say, to combat inflation, which increases the mortgage rates, making it more expensive for first-time home buyers and those looking to refinance. Higher rates have priced many out of home ownership. So a lot of people that were able to own a home 5 years ago simply cannot now. I mean, their income did not rise along with the mortgage rates and the cost of living and stuff like that. So that's leading to a slowdown in real estate, and in the real estate market in certain areas. Reduced purchase power. However, higher mortgage rates have significantly reduced the purchasing power, is what I just said. Like a lot of people that 5 years ago I used to take them out to look for homes are simply out of the market, and they can barely pay rent in an apartment, let alone a mortgage. So it's leading to fewer transactions in the market to realtors like myself, and it's making it more difficult for the younger people, 45 maybe 45 and down, or first-time home buyers to even enter the market. Sometimes people 45 and over have owned a home, already own a home, have experienced owning a home, sometimes did and don't no longer want to own a home because of the insurance, property insurance for homeowners now has doubled along with the mortgage interest rates. It's doubled, which makes it really unaffordable, unaffordable. Okay, people, for people to own a home.
Yeah, yeah. Well, speaking of that
It's
that affordability, if families move to an area where the school districts are better, if they move to a desirable area, guess what's going to be high? Not only the interest rate, but the
Mhm.
taxes. The taxes price people out of certain areas that they want to live in, and that too keeps them out of houses. I just wish it was more like when our parents were buying houses, back in the day, was fairly easy financially to buy a house, especially if you're working for a company that has loyalty. You work so many years, you retire. So that whole template that we had um, employment is gone. So now you have to invest in your 401k, et cetera, et cetera. So the whole setup is a little bit different now than it was back then.
Yeah, I forgot about the taxes. And, I don't know if that's uniform across all states in the United States, but I do know in some of the areas that are most popular, high demand, they are. But we'll get into that when we. Okay, thank you for rejoining us. So, yeah, I was saying I forgot the taxes, and I don't know if the taxes are high in all states. I would assume not, because I'm not an expertise on that in other states. But in some states, you're exactly right. The taxes with the mortgage and the high interest rate and the property insurance will put people out of the market for home ownership. Indeed. Yeah. So you mentioned a little bit about gentrification and economic racial inequality, but homeownership rates remain much lower for Black and Latino Americans compared to white Americans. A disparity rooted in decades of systemic racism, which is called redlining, and discriminatory lending practices are illegal, but they still exist subtly, unfortunately. These communities also face higher rates of eviction and housing instability. In many cities, gentrification continues to displace long-term residents, particularly in neighborhoods historically home to minorities, like we mentioned. The arrival of high-income residents often leads to rising rents and property values, which pushes out the lower-income households. They can't afford it. They grew up in these neighborhoods, and now they have to leave their homes, their neighborhoods that they are familiar with and grew up in because of gentrification. Yeah. So since we
Yeah.
already talked about it, we'll go talk about vulnerability to climate events, climate-related disasters such as wildfires, hurricanes like in the territory I live in, and floods and tornado territory like where you live in have an increasing impact on housing, especially in states like Texas, California, and Florida. Damage from these events has led to displacement for many people who did not have homeowners insurance because they could not afford it. And also because of a spike in insurance costs and the loss of affordable housing stock. That has caused a lot of people to be displaced. You were saying, I see people on the streets and I wonder what their story is. And I have come to learn just recently, there are so many people that have lived in homes for 20, 30 years and paid for them, but they can't afford the insurance. So they still lose their homes when inclement disasters or catastrophic disasters occur. It's really sad.
Yeah, it is indeed. You work so long for your home. What a heartbreak it is to lose everything you have worked for, paid for diligently, stayed on time, et cetera, only to lose it to a fire, a flood, and the insurance rates are going through the roof, especially in the places where hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, et cetera, are happening. So if you file a claim, I'm not going to go deep in the insurance industry, but if you file a claim, that's a mark against you. But you still have to have the insurance, and you cannot help acts of God. You can't help that. And so the insurance goes up, and then eventually you're canceled. Then what do you do?
So I did property insurance. I have many, many hats and certifications, and I did catastrophe. And acts of God are like lightning strikes your house or the roof get blown off. But if it's a flood, they don't consider that. If it comes from the ground up, it's not covered. But if it comes from the sky down, and this is a rule, they'll cover that. And I'm like, what? The rain fell first to make the water flood.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much the rule. And you just have to, it doesn't make any sense to me, but you're exactly right. Yeah. So there's a thing called climate gentrification, which is in some coastal areas, there's a trend of the wealthier people moving to neighborhoods less vulnerable to climate change, driving up housing prices in those neighborhoods where the lower middle class income people live and displacing them. So like they can afford it, but even they don't want to deal with the increasing, they meaning some people. I need to do that disclaimer, not all people. And this is not across the board, everybody, but it's statistical that they are moving to those areas, which is driving up the price for the people that live and grew up in those areas, raising up prices, displacing those families. So those are the stories of the people more than likely, besides maybe mental health issues or something like that, that we see in homeless cities across the United States. And it's the homelessness is an epidemic in the United States. I don't know about other countries, but in the United States.
Yeah, well, in a country where you would not expect it, a lot of people want to live here. And there are disparities. There are great disparities. And I wonder too, when people call all the time wanting to buy your house, we're interested in buying your house. We're interested in buying your house. Who are those people and where are they coming from? Is this a corporate move or people from overseas trying to buy people's houses? That's a curious thing
I
for
can
me.
answer that question.
Okay, so tell me.
Okay, so I will answer that for you, being a realtor. A lot of them are corporations that are buying up homes and then they rent them out. I'm not going to call any names, but they will take the home, fix it up, basically, not luxuriously, and then double the rent. And so it's corporations doing that. And then you have foreigners, but they have different laws for them as far as buying homes. But sometimes they work with American corporations, right? And they buy the homes and double the rent, which also creates gentrification or displacement of people in their homes. And that's exactly what happened. And when I sold my house in Dallas, that's exactly what happened. At asking price, then they turned around. They didn't have to fix it up because you saw the house, right? It was already fixed up. And I went home, I went back to visit and saw a for lease sign in the yard. And I'm like, what? I can't believe if I had known that, I would have asked for more. You know what I mean? Because they would have paid,
Wow.
And what I paid mortgage-wise for that house, the rent was double.
Wow.
Double. And I was like, I cannot believe this. It was a beautiful home and I love it. But what they were renting it for, I would not have rented it, okay, for that, just to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like that's a way to push rent prices up for everyone. If they're putting rent prices higher like that, then it prices everyone out of the market. So.
Okay, we'll finish this when we come right back. All right, everyone. Thank you for returning to Gab with Goldn Bronze. So one of the other things I wanted to mention to you is that some cities and states are attempting to address housing shortages by reforming zoning laws to allow for more density, such as legalizing duplexes and triplexes or accessory dwelling units. These reforms face opposition, however, from the residents concerned about the neighborhood character or it reducing property values. Although it may allow for more affordability, the people that already live there have a problem or a concern, rather is a better word to use, of their property value depreciating because of it. And in response to rising rents, some cities have expanded rent control measures to limit how much landlords can increase rents annually, because sometimes they'll go up $100 to $150 from year to year. This remains controversial, with critics arguing it discourages new housing development. But there has to be some sort of control on rental rates. Um, I don't think they should be able to gouge, especially if the cost of living and income is not meeting the demand of the cost of rent. And there are federal efforts to expand housing assistance, such as, those Section 8 programs, those housing vouchers, they've increased, but the programs remain underfunded. And other people don't especially like for Section 8 people to move into their neighborhoods. And I hate to say it, but it's a fact. I've heard it. They feel like it depreciates their property value.
Yes. That's unfortunate. I was thinking about Section 8. I owned a home with my former husband years ago, and we had a tenant who was had a Section 8 voucher. She was an excellent tenant.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't junk up the place. She didn't tear up the place. You wouldn't have even known that she was a renter because she took good care of the place. And it's unfortunate that there's a stigma against people who need a little assistance. Yes. They want to live in a nice place, but they cannot afford it. And that's not their fault that the rents are high. And so to have that backing helps people get into a place that they're not homeless. They're not living in a shelter because the shelters are full. And if they're full, there's people living homeless. And so I would hope that business and compassion would meet each other someplace in this whole thing, because that, to me, there's just a lot of extra stress. And then the duplexes. I've seen them building new duplexes around here and triplexes.
Yes.
where homes are, they're building new duplexes. And I understand when homeowners see multiple units being built around them. Oh, what is that going to bring to the neighborhood? Is that going to bring a lot of
that's exactly what they
bring riffraff? But it is not necessarily true. It's just everyone wants a place to be. Everyone wants a place to live. And there's nothing wrong with that.
I agree with you 100%. And a lot of the ladies that we work with through Golden Swan Cadre are on housing vouchers. And they're just ladies like you and I that met an unfortunate situation in their lives and became displaced, and now they need assistance. So there is a stigma, and it's not fair, but it does exist, and that is unfortunate. So in summary, though, regarding housing challenges in the United States in 2024, they stem from a combination of affordability issues, supply chain shortages, rising interest rates, and the effects of a climate change, all exacerbated by structural inequalities in the housing market. Addressing these challenges will require coordinated efforts across local, state, and federal levels with both market-based and policy-driven solutions. And so we do hope that there is some resolve in the near future to the affordability, maybe through government, I don't know, but it's really, really exacerbated now. Or maybe they just need to start paying people more money so that they can afford the mortgages and the rents, and simply to be able to live comfortably.
Right. And let's stop the gouging. Let's stop the gouging. Everyone.
Right.
Well, many companies, I can't blanket say everyone, but many companies are just being very greedy, and they're gouging people, and maybe they're not even paying their employees more, but people need to have higher salaries and less price gouging, in the grocery stores, etc. So people can just live, People just want to live, and they want to live safely, and they want to live comfortably like anyone else would want to live. There's no us and them. All of us want to live someplace that we can relax and enjoy.
Yeah. So, we were going to do a whole different show on alternative housing, but we have time to dive into it a little bit. And it piggybacks off of affordable housing options in the United States in 2024. So I will we have like maybe 10 minutes, and I'll go through the different alternative options that people have. And we talked about public housing, like low income rental units. That's what we're talking about, Section 8 and stuff like that. And then they have properties that are called low income housing tax credit units. And these are privately owned rental properties that receive tax incentives in exchange for offering reduced rents to low income tenants. They're called LIHT properties and are located across the United States, and rents are set at very low market rates. So housing vouchers, public housing, low income housing tax credit, and then they have organizations like Habitat for Humanity. And I know a lady here in Houston that they built her a home from Habitat for Humanity. They have communities, land trusts that build and renovate these homes for low income buyers, often offering interest-free mortgages or significantly reduced prices. And sometimes they even are gifted the home through Habitat for Humanity, depending on their level of need. And other nonprofit developers focus on creating affordable units as well. Then they have the co-op housing, which allows residents to buy shares in a housing development rather than owning an individual unit. This model can significantly reduce the cost, and especially in urban areas. And then, of course, the tiny homes. And we will be right back. All right. Thank you for rejoining us. So as I was saying, they have real estate show. Well, I still do HGTV and Fixer Upper. I'm just a HGTV junkie, okay? And so I like to see the tiny homes. And I always said, man, maybe when I retire, should buy a tiny home and put it on a beach somewhere, knowing I couldn't do that, probably put it on a beach, because the beach is probably owned by the city or whatever. And I'd have to move it an inch or two every day or something to make sure I didn't get in trouble with the law.
Right.
But tiny homes and modular housing, those small units are built on the same lot as a primary residence, are becoming more common in 2024. These homes can offer more affordable ownership and rentership options. And you can get one like for maybe 20, 30,000, 40,000 if you have a place to put it. But a lot of people put tiny homes on wheels, like mobile homes, and they're really neat. If you ever have seen them, they're just compressed. They have everything any home has, just micro.
Yeah.
And then they have, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've seen those, and I often wonder, could I cram everything? No. But those that can do it,
No, you
more
can't.
power to you. Nah, I don't think I could do it.
No.
But, it is a wonderful option. I really like the look of them and the convenience of them.
I like them because you could put it wherever you want to, but you have to be a minimalist if you want to go live in a tiny house, right down to your clothing. You can't have much clothing, shoes, nothing. Minimal is all you get to have if you live in a tiny home. But that is an option,
It is.
And they also have shared housing programs that match individuals looking for affordable rent with homeowners who have extra space. So kind of like some people will rent a room out of somebody else's home. And that helps both people. It helps the homeowner with extra income, and it helps the renter with affordable housing. And some of these programs offer reduced or subsidized rent in exchange for help. Like someone may say, you can stay in my house if you clean it every day. I'm just throwing that out there. But they barter room and board for services, legal services like that. Being creative, or you may have in situations, I know I had to clear that up, in situations where maybe someone may need a caregiver, right? and like an older person or someone that's disabled or a sick person. And so they may offer, you can live here if you help take care of me, you know,
Right.
and maybe, something like that. So it's a win-win situation for both parties. What do you think about that?
I like that. Out of need, we've had to become more creative. And I like the idea of people having companions who live by themselves, finding someone that they trust, maybe like caregiving, just help them along the way with certain things. And just the creativity of it is a win-win situation for everyone involved. And I love that idea.
And I'll tell you, when I was young, a kid, my grandmother had like a 5-bedroom home, and she rented to construction workers. And now this was many years ago when life was safer and slower and everything, it wasn't as dangerous. But that was a win-win for both because it supplemented her income, and the whole upstairs had a bathroom and 4 bedrooms, and she had 6 bedrooms because the downstairs had 2 bedrooms. And she took care of her father, my great grandfather, downstairs, and rented out the upstairs. And she rented it out cheaper than they would have to rent a hotel room. And she rented it by the day. So it was a win-win for them because they stayed there cheaper than if they could get a hotel room. And it was a win-win for her because it supplemented her income. They also have, many states have cities that have their own affordable housing programs. This is called Community Land Trust. Is the acronym is CLT, and they own land and allow homeowners to purchase homes at lower cost while leasing the land at an affordable rate. And this keeps homes affordable for future buyers as well. Then we have rural housing assistance. Okay, yes, like USDA. I learned about this in doing real estate because if you live in a rural area, they have these USDA loans that are cheaper interest rates and more affordable than the regular FHA loans or conventional loans. And a lot of people will move out to rural areas and get that type of loan, and it's more affordable for them to become a homeowner. And that offers reduced cost financing for low and moderate income families. And then they even have what is called the workforce housing. Some cities and countries offer housing designated for moderate income individuals, particularly workers in essential sectors like education, healthcare, and public service. These units are located in or near urban areas where housing prices are higher. Like, for instance, travel nurses, the hospitals will put them up in units that they've worked out a deal with the owner or whatever to charge to get lower rates for their employees to come and live while they're working at their hospital. And that's just one example of workforce housing. And while these programs provide options, affordable housing remains still, even though we have all these options, it still is a challenge in the United States due to high demand and low supply. That is what is causing the spike in mortgages, homeowners, homes, and in apartments is high demand and low supply. That's it in a nutshell. Yeah.
That's very interesting. This has been such an interesting topic, and I'm so glad that you've been able to lend your expertise to help the viewers understand those things, and myself. There's a lot of it that I didn't know, and so thank you for educating all of us on this subject.
Thank you. You're welcome. Yes, ma'am. You're welcome, and thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, are we ready to wrap it up?
Yes, ma'am. Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So let me tell you, you may now see Gab with Gold and Bronze show on DuPont TV Network, brought to you by Village Global Network TV at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Be sure to tune in and we'll see you there. In addition to that, to donate to Golden Swan Cadre, which Gab with GoldnBronze is a sponsor, you would go to Chime and put in $ Golden Swan Cadre. Now on those, the G is uppercase, the S is uppercase, and the C is uppercase. Make sure you do it that way so you can find us. PayPal, thegoldenswancadre@gmail.com. North Texas Giving Day campaign website, and our website, www.goldenswancadre.com. Instagram. Now on Instagram, you go to the charity section to find the official _Golden Swan Cadre. Facebook, the same way. Go to the charities section and find Golden Swan Cadre. Join us in making a positive impact today, and we appreciate it in advance.
Yes, we do. And I want to say, Mikki G, I appreciate you. I'm glad that you're taking this journey with me on BGN television. And it's just so exciting, so exciting. I want to share that excitement. I want to share that with you and just ride with me. You know that song, Ride With Me, Ride? It's a country song. Ride with me, sister, okay? Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you, everyone, for watching Gab with GoldnBronze, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a blessed day.